Whether it's the guests or the callers, Talkback is where Central Louisiana begins its conversation.
I'm responding to the senator from Arizona who took a shot at this operation. Yep. Unfortunately, the modern Democratic Party is pathetic in the face of evil. Soleimani, al-Baghdadi, they embrace deals that make no sense. The difference between Donald Trump and our Democratic colleagues, he's common sense. He understands the world. I've been talking to him continuously for days and weeks. He's of the mindset that the Ayatollah is Hitler in a robe wearing a turban, that he's not capable of changing his ways. He reached out to him to test to see if he would. Donald Trump does not get us entangled in forever wars, but he sure as hell stands up to the bad guys and he makes us safer. This is the most consequential decision any president's made since 1979 because of President Trump's understanding of the evil nature of this regime. He has set in motion its demise. This military operation is overwhelming. It will bring this regime down. President Trump called on the Iranian people to seize the moment. I believe they will. What's going to happen is that the regime will lose power gradually throughout the country. There'll be cities that fall to the people. The regime will get isolated. To the military leaders in Iran, we're watching everything you do. President Trump said, lay down your arms. Those that do will be rewarded. Those that fight for the Ayatollah, you will pay a heavy price.
All right, welcome on in, everyone. Good morning. It is Talkback here on a Monday. I'm Al Quartermont, along with Nathan Martin today. Stephen's a little under the weather, so we begin our program after what was certainly a pretty huge news weekend, especially with the news of the United States, along with Israel, dropping a few bombs in Iran, taking out the Ayatollah and most of the Iranian regime government. So what happens next? We shall see, but that's where we are today. Good morning, Nathan. How are you?
Good morning, sir. A little somber as we focus on the happenings on the other side of the world, wondering what the ripple effects will be. Was the Austin shooting over the weekend a response to that? We already have 3 Americans who've lost their lives on the bombing in Kuwait, and President Trump says there will be more casualties. So it's certainly a somber moment. And yet at the same time, Al, I see rejoicing in Iran from people who just a few months ago, thousands were being killed for their standing up against the Ayatollah. And it seems like many of the citizenry is ecstatic with the turnover in leadership.
Yeah, that's one thing you're seeing. And it is not a contrast that is lost on me, how the Iranian people in Iran and even people that are here in the United States are in celebration. Mm-hmm. And much of the American left is in protest.
Yeah, calling Trump, saying he has Alzheimer's and he's in dementia and he's lost his mind. And the leadership of the left is going to that extreme, while the people who are directly impacted by this decision, I was in tears watching some of the videos. Yes. There's people, I mean, literally ecstatic with this news.
We were at the National Religious Broadcasters Convention the week before last. I did get to hear somebody speak who's from Iran. Ironically, his name is Shah. Mm-hmm. And he was talking about how cruel that government was against the protesters. So if you had a loved one who was shot and killed, you couldn't get the body back until you paid a hefty tax for each bullet that they put into their body. Amazing. I mean, just stuff like that.
Amazing.
Yeah, I mean, this was beyond religion. This was just pure evil. Mm. And I'm not shedding any tears for the Ayatollah. He knows now what the truth is, but I certainly am in prayer for the Iranian people. And I know that there is a large group of Christians in Iran that have been suppressed for years, have had to operate in the underground. So who knows, maybe this is a spark to transform the entire Middle East in the years to come. I hope that it will be. I think there are repercussions in other ways in how this will impact, for example, Russia and China, who have relied on Iran in a lot of ways for some of their agenda. So it is going to be, I think, a far-reaching impact. And what's interesting is that you had a lot of the Middle Eastern countries coming into support of U.S. and Iran as well, especially after Iran decided to drop bombs on their countries where some of the U.S. military installations are. So it is interesting, a lot to talk about, a lot to break down, and we'll have plenty of time to do that here this morning on Talkback. 318-442-8255 is our phone number. And we have other things we'll be getting into during this day as well. Hope you all had a great weekend, gorgeous weekend weather-wise. Looks like that nice weather is going to continue for us as well this week. So we've got a call already coming in. Let's go ahead and jump on that. Good morning. You are on Talkback.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for taking my call. There's been a lot of talk about what this might do, and I heard some interesting people over the weekend making a distinction between Islam and Islamists, and I think it's very important. Now, look, I hate Islam. I hate the license it gives people to do bad things to the weak. But there is a difference between true Muslims who are born in that faith and they believe that is, they falsely believe that's their way to righteousness, and those Islamists are the people who use those people's devotion to control them. And I'm hoping that the people I've listened to said this has the potential of breaking that hold and it having a domino effect throughout the world. Because, and this is the reason I think the elite Democrats love Islam and don't fight it. Because, I mean, when you think about what happens to women and children in Islam, Democrats should be against it all the way across from the get-go, but they're not. And it's because it gives them a power lever, because you don't dare question the Prophet Muhammad. So anyone who rises up against the Ayatollah, the religious leaders, or causes dissension in the ranks, well, then you're going against God, in their mind. So they use it to control, because there's a very small number of the people who are actually Islamists. They wouldn't admit it. They say they're true Muslims, but as opposed to the true Muslims. And so this break, especially coming through Persia, I think we have a chance. I mean, they're chanting Donald Trump over there. Yeah. They're spray painting his name all over buildings and everything. They're tearing down statues of the Ayatollah. And look, there's a big difference between the types of people that call themselves Muslims. Iran is a very young country. It's a very well-educated country. These are not stupid people. The Persians, now I know there's different sects within because of the way the British drew the line in the Balfour Declaration, but the bulk of them are people with much potential, and from what the stats I've read, they have a higher IQ than most Americans. But I'm hopeful at this time. I would not have selected Donald Trump to be a person that would bring help the church and help alleviate the suffering of Christians. But look, that's what's happening. And if he can break the hold of these Islamists on the people, the Muslim people throughout the world, then, man, we're at the dawn of a new day. A world where terrorism is actually rare and is not the order of the day over there. Because, I mean, we don't like the shootings that we hear, the one in Austin. We don't like that. But look, those people live with that constantly. And so I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that this will be as good as it sounds like it's going to be. I don't like getting entangled with foreign wars. I believe George Washington was the wisest man we ever had in the White House. But it's a new day, and with weapons of mass destruction and the ease of travel around the world is right outside your door. And so I'm hoping that he does effectively break the hold of the Islamists, and I hope that the people of the Democratic Party can see what their leaders have done, because if they act the same, they will broker no dissent. If you talk against them, well, then you're Donald Trump. You're a MAGA if you say anything against them. And I hope that the rank and file people in the Democratic Party still will rise up against their leaders. And I hope the Persians will rise up against the Islamists that have gained control of their country since 1979. Anyway, thanks for letting me speak my piece. Y'all have a great day.
All right. Thank you for your monologue this morning. We'll take a break and come back with more.
Talkback is sponsored by The Clinics. With 18 providers and 3 locations, someone can see you today.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. Stocks tumbled and oil prices jumped as the eruption of war between the U.S. and Iran rattled global markets. Dow, S&P, and NASDAQ futures all down more than 1% ahead of the opening bell on Wall Street. The co-CEO of Netflix is explaining why they dropped out of the fight to take over Warner Brothers. It was made based on various bidding scenarios Netflix had worked out in advance, and co-CEO Ted Sarandos says they knew exactly what to do when they received notice of the superior offer. Sarandos believes the Paramount deal will lead to cost cutting, including $16 billion in cuts and thousands of job eliminations. And he says Netflix will continue to invest in its business and find new ways to work with theater owners. Norwegian Cruise Line Holdings expects full-year net yields to be little changed due to the execution missteps in its commercial and deployment strategy. Bookings, too, are lacking, shares falling as much as 7.8% in pre-market trading. Matt Piper, Bloomberg Radio.
Good morning. Some clouds to start us out this morning. That'll give way to sunny skies later in the day. Afternoon highs near 81 degrees. Winds out of the south-southeast at about 5 to 10 miles an hour. We see some fog overnight tonight. Otherwise, a few clouds here and there. 57, the overnight low. Our Tuesday, once that fog burns off, partly to mostly cloudy skies. High temps topping out at 82. From the Sunlaw Broadcasting Weather Center, I'm Dave Gratian.
If you'd like to take part in the show today, call the BOM Bank Talk line at 442-8255. That's 442-TALK. And remember, if you're looking to purchase or refinance your home, call Christina Bagwell at the BOM Bank Mortgage Department at 448-2430.
970 AM, 104.9 FM, KSYL. Now back to Talkback.
What is your message to President Trump?
My message to President Trump is that I'm here to echo and join millions of my compatriots inside and outside of Iran to thank him for having done and having the courage to do what is not easy, but intervene. And he will go down in the annals of Iranian history as the most celebrated foreign leader that changed the ball game and changed the world as a result.
In January, President Trump said this about you, quote, "He seems very nice, but I don't know how he'd play within his own country. I don't know whether or not his country would accept his leadership. And certainly if they would, that would be fine with me." You don't seem to have President Trump's wholehearted support.
Well, first of all, I don't think that somebody in my position will ever expect to have an official endorsement of a foreign government or a foreign leader. What I do know now is that millions of Iranians inside Iran and outside of Iran are calling my name. They recognize in me the person uniquely placed to play a role of transitional leadership. Not running for office, because that's not what I'm doing, but to be a bridge to that destiny.
All right, welcome back as we continue our discussion about the events of this weekend here on Talkback. That was on 60 Minutes last night.
Wow.
And I'm sure that they didn't enjoy having to play that clip where he extols the virtues of President Trump. Think about how far we've come from just a few years ago with Leslie Stahl. That's not true, Mr. President. That's not true. Which turned out to be true. All right, back to the phones we go. Good morning, you're on Talkback.
Good morning, Al. Good morning, Nathan.
Hey, good morning.
I don't know why everybody's all surprised that the left is condemning this attack on Iran. I mean, these are the same people that stood there last week and did not stand up for Sarah Beckstrom.
Wow.
I mean, only in the United States can the people in Iran be happy that we did this, and our Democrats are complaining and protesting that we did it. But these are the same people that didn't stand up when he acknowledged a U.S. soldier that was killed in the... None of this should surprise anybody anymore.
That's a great point. I mean, it's the same people who didn't stand when the Venezuelans were cheering their heads off for the arrest of that president. And so, yeah, you're right. I don't know where my surprise came from.
It's just nothing. what we need to do is what I did yesterday is we need to go to church and pray for these people, because I heard this one time, Rick Warren, I know you've heard this before too, Nathan. He says your emotional and spiritual maturity is largely based on how you treat people who mistreat you.
That's right.
And that is a difficult thing for me to do. I'm trying to get better at it as we speak. Y'all have a great day.
Yeah, thank you so much. Comment. Yeah, awesome comment. And we'd welcome more of them. 318-442-8255 as we continue here on a Monday Talkback. It is just perplexing. And I talked about this chart that I think it was a Gallup poll that showed the level of patriotism among the two political parties. I think we talked about this late on Friday. And what it shows is that the Republicans, people who identify as Republican, have largely stayed the same when it comes to patriotism, like hovering between 90 and 95% pretty consistently over the last 25 years. Among the Democrats, it has had a huge drop. And I think the number was down like into the 70s for some particular reason. So I'll see if I can find that once again. But it's just what the caller said. I agree. Going back to the State of the Union, a few of those things, why would you not stand? How could you not stand? And President Trump really effectively used that when he said, will you at least stand if you support the government of the United States protecting American citizens first versus illegal immigrants? And they wouldn't stand for that.
Yeah. Well, not to play devil's advocate, when he added versus the illegal immigrants, he made it political in that regard. I will say, though, that in my many years of public service, it's always been said that the number one duty of elected officials in public government is to protect.
Yes.
Period. Yep. So they wouldn't stand because of that added extension on the end of the sentence, but even that disclosed something that shows a bias.
Yeah. Yeah. It's head scratching, that's for sure. So we'll see. I want to note that the news has broken this morning that a fourth U.S. service member was killed during the attacks on Saturday. The 4 deaths marked the first American casualties in what could be more possibly in the coming weeks, according to President Trump. The first 3 who were killed were U.S. Army soldiers deployed to Kuwait as part of a unit that oversees supplies and logistics. And then a 4th service member who was seriously wounded during those initial attacks eventually died from those injuries. So Kuwait was one of the many countries that Iran actually attacked on Saturday following the attack on them. I know, too, that there was a lot going on around social media about how we attacked, or us and Israel attacked, a school in Iran. But I also saw on Twitter, people were posting a video which seemed to show a missile launched in Iran itself that looks like it kind of misfired and went up in the air and then came back down. So people are saying that's what hit the school. So I don't know. But that's one reason why I try to get a lot of my news from Twitter, because you seem to get a lot more context about what actually is going on many times. So, yeah. And I know this will be the dominant story for the rest of the news day, as it should be. But, man, there's just so many videos, and the ones that kind of touch me the most, you see women in Iran who are taking off their burqas and their full black dress from head to toe and just celebrating the chance to be free once again.
Yeah, I saw a picture last week of the ethnic dresses of many countries that are today majority Muslim controlled, and their ethnic dresses are gorgeous, beautiful.
Yeah.
Women are beautiful, the clothing, the colors, the fabrics, stunning, and yet now it's all, the monochrome burqa, and that legacy that's been left by that part of the Islamic regime or leadership has actually been more destructive to cultures than what they say, Western culture has been.
Yeah, amazing. All right, let's take another call. Good morning. You're on Talkback.
I remember when the Shah of Iran was overthrown back in around 1980 or 79 or along there somewhere. Remember that? And the Iranians said they were celebrating they were celebrating just like they are now. So was the Shah and the Khomeini coming into power. They would celebrate just like they are now.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't see any hope at all for them at all, unless they become a nation of laws, not of men.
Well, that's a good point. An objective law is going to provide an equal framework for everyone versus a leadership based on personality, right?
Right. There's something else too I've noticed. You know how the Democrats are always talking about the abusing children with Epstein, abusing children for trafficking children and everything for sexual abuse and stuff. You think the Democrats, if that were true, which is not true, do you think the Democrats care anything at all about those children?
About the ones that were Epstein victims, allegedly?
Yeah.
I think the Democrats care about them? I mean, I would...
No, yeah.
I would hope they would, but...
I don't think they care. If there were children involved in that, which there's not, I don't think the Democrats would care anything at all about them.
It's hard for me to make such a sweeping generalization across the board about everybody like that. But it does seem apparent to many that the victims are being used as pawns, no matter which side of the spectrum people find themselves on. Maybe we have a new term here. They've been Epsteinized.
Yeah.
Or Epstein. Well, Epstein probably is the suicide thing, but Epsteinized. There's no doubt that there were younger women. Even one of the statements that Trump made, that I think he's acknowledged he made that, we both like women. He just likes them younger than I do. And so there was something about that comment that showed that, and, maybe he liked, the 14, 15. I'm not even going to say, I'm going to say that it's horrific and horrible, all the allegations that are in there. And some are saying that all the stuff in Iran is a distraction from that. I don't think America's going to be distracted from this. And I don't think the folks at the Justice Department are going to be distracted from this.
Yeah, I've seen a few people kind of level that accusation. I feel like that's utter nonsense. But the biggest issue, I think, when it comes to the Epstein files is it's hard to know what to really believe, who to really believe, because especially with the component of social media and the internet out there, I mean, just there's all kinds of stuff.
Right.
And I don't know, but even Bill Clinton in his testimony on Friday said that Trump was not involved.
Right.
Bill Clinton said that.
Yeah.
And that's been the guy probably associated with Epstein more than anybody.
Now, his testimony, if I recall, was that, yes, he took many flights many times prior to, I think, the Florida conviction. Mm-hmm. And that's when he shut things off. And I'm not saying that's the exact trigger point, but once he became aware, he distanced himself. Interesting, it seemed like Trump and Clinton have both been kind of providing each other just a little bit of cover.
Yeah.
Don't know. That was a weird one.
And then people will say that that's part of the game, that they're all covering for each other because they're all in on it. So,
well, I'm grateful for the citizen journalists who are digging into this, for the websites and the databases that are being compiled that allow everyday people like us to go in and look and see what was in those. And again, just because a name was mentioned, a name may have been mentioned in a negative connotation. I don't really like Al Quartermont when Al Quartermont's name is in the files, right?
Right.
So we don't want to say just because a name is mentioned that there's nefarious dealings, but more digging, more truth will come out.
Hopefully so. All right, we'll be back after this.
KSYL.
Need office supplies, janitorial supplies, or office furniture, either new or pre-owned? Then look no further than DTW Office Supply, with wholesale prices on a large selection of top quality products, all with the personalized hometown service that you deserve. We're proud to serve the entire state of Louisiana with daily deliveries right to your door. Visit us today at 1219 MacArthur Drive or online at dtwofficesupply.com. That's DTW Office Supply, your trusted partner for all of your office needs. Quality, value, service.
Attention all real estate agents, property owners, and lenders. When you or a client needs a real estate attorney, call the professionals at Thompson Law Firm. Whether the legal matter is basic or complex, the Thompson Law Firm can accurately guide you or your client to a successful outcome. That's why numerous industry professionals have trusted the Thompson Law Firm for years. They also handle estate planning, successions, and business law. Call them at 473-0052. I am a paid non-client attorney spokesperson.
AM, 104.9 FM, KSYL. Now back to Talkback.
All right, we are back here on Talkback. Al Quartermont along with Nathan Martin here on this Monday morning. And as we continue to talk about the events of the weekend with Iran, what?
I'm sorry, Trump social on Real Donald Trump posted, I've just been informed that we have destroyed and sunk 9 Iranian naval ships, some of them relatively large and important. We're going after the rest. They will soon be floating at the bottom of the sea. Also, in a different attack, we largely destroyed their naval headquarters. Other than that, their Navy is doing very well.
Need to get Baghdad Bob to come back and talk about how the Americans are on the run.
That's what they need. That's right.
Oh, man.
Bomb, 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 Iran.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to break your chain of thought, but when I read that, I couldn't suppress the giggle.
Let's just say the Ayatollah found out. And again, hopefully the larger thing that comes of this will be a free people, especially those of the Persian background that comprises most of Iran. Hoping for them. All right, the other fallout from this over the weekend is what happened in Austin, Texas on Saturday night, a mass shooting that the way officials term it is, it may have been terrorism, may have been motivated. I mean, if you look at the guy's shirt, it's pretty clear what he was about. But 2 people dead, 14 people injured. He just kind of rolled up to a bar, rolled his window down, started shooting before police finally returned fire and killed him. But what it raises a couple of questions or a couple of concerns. One, we've heard about potential Iranian sleeper cells in America, most of which came as a result of our lax border policies these last many years. Truth is, we probably don't really know. And at the same time, our Homeland Security Department is kind of shut down because of the budget standoff, because the Democrats are trying to make a political point over ICE. I would advise, let's get past that and get that up and running full right now. I don't think we need to be messing with that at this point. But 2, and I've read a lot about this, a lot of growing concern about the rise of, we had the call earlier in the show, the rise of kind of radical Islam in Texas. And there are communities that are being almost completely taken over by more of that kind of mindset. So I don't know what you do about it ultimately, but what you've seen in other countries has been kind of initial, hey, we're coming here for a better life. Then secondly, kind of a refusal to actually assimilate into the culture. And then lastly, kind of a taking over. And I'm talking about places like Dearborn, Michigan, for example. So Texas has got a problem. They've got some problems. And there are people that are voicing this. The biggest issue with that is if you say that, if you raise that as a concern, immediately you're slapped with, well, you're Islamophobic. So what do you do? What do you do in that situation? I don't know. But
there is no assimilation, apparently. We talk about the great melting pot that America is supposed to be, and you become a part of something as opposed to taking over something. And so that has not been the history. I'm a peace-loving man, and I respect religion.
Yeah.
A person desires to practice a religion, absolutely. But when your religion or my religion demands that other people change, we've got a problem. That's why I think if you looked at my 23 years on the council, you wouldn't see me exerting my political religious viewpoints on anybody, because that's not the role of government. That's what the law, that one-way wall of separation between the church and the state is really between the state and the church. It's to protect the church from the state and to keep the state from exerting that type of influence and power. But in places like Dearborn, some of these places where the entire city councils have been taken over, Sharia law is becoming the common day experience, even for non-Islams.
Right. And I mean, you can't have that in America. We have the Constitution and we have our laws. I mean, within a religious organization, you can kind of set your own boundaries or your parameters for sure, but that's within the guise of religious freedom. But when it starts to being extended to others outside of that, so it's going to be an issue to watch. All right, we'll take another break. More coming up.
Talkback is sponsored by The Clinics.
I start every workday morning off the same way. I stop in and pick up breakfast at Wilmore's Mobile and Sub Express. It's convenient, quick, and oh so good. Croissants, biscuits, breakfast subs, and their hot coffee is the perfect pick-me-up. They always ask me why I'm in such a good mood when I get to work. Improve your mood. Stop by Wilmore's any weekday morning from 6 till 9 and get your day started right. That's Wilmore's Mobile and Sub Express right there on the corner of North MacArthur Drive and Bayou Rapides Road.
Tired of noisy neighbors? Want to keep pets in and problems out? Sounds like you need a Promo fence. At Promo Fencing and Lawn Care, our fences don't just work, they wow. From classic cedar and pine privacy fences to durable chain link, sleek metal, and aluminum, even decorative fencing. We've got something for every home, yard, or business, big or small, residential or commercial, all with free estimates, expert installs, and small town customer care. Promo Fencing and Lawn Care, fences that feel like home.
A message from Israel Air Conditioning and Heating.
Yeah, my mama, she told me to pick up and call Israel Air. She told me Israel Air. She told me. She said they'll come a-running with comfort beyond compare.
And a very fair price.
Because you know we're all about your comfort, no troubles. Call 442-6657. That's 442-6657. We're all about your comfort.
Now back to Talkback, 970 AM, 104.9 FM, KSYL.
All right, we are back on Talkback. Al and Nathan with you here on a Monday morning. Steven's out sick today. I hope he's feeling better and is doing better. They've had a little sickness running through their family for sure.
That's what he gets for kissing his wife.
Yeah, exactly. Well, hey, can't blame him.
No, yeah. A good husband.
All right, I know that over the weekend we had the Red River Athletic Conference tournament over at the Rapides Coliseum. They did the format a little different this year. They played quarterfinal games at host sites around the conference. The higher-ranked teams hosted those. And then they just had the semifinals here Saturday and Sunday. The women's game yesterday came down to LSU Shreveport against Texas A&M San Antonio, right?
Scrappy game all the way.
The San Antonio coach used to be at Texarkana. So he's the small guy.
Yeah, was it Texarkana or was it Olu?
I'm pretty sure he was at Texarkana.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, the men's coach was at Olu.
Okay, that's what I was thinking of. You're right. You're exactly right.
Yeah. But the women's coach was at Texarkana, and he coaches a very tough brand of basketball. It's funny when you on the sidelines, when like I do PA at the LC games, you can hear him. He's like, "You gotta play defense." He's got like kind of a, I don't know, it's kind of a almost a raspy voice, but it cracks me up because when he gets mad, he's like, "Come on!" So anyway. LSU Shreveport won on the women's side, and then yesterday in the men's championship game was LSU Shreveport, LSU Alexandria, LSUA defending their title from a year ago, but Shreveport, man, just a lot of talent on that team, a lot of size on that team, and they kind of ran away with, what, do you remember the final score?
It was like 85-72, something like that. I don't remember the exact final score, but the downside for Alexandria, they were in the game up until maybe the last 5 minutes or so. They had made back and forth, and it was a great contest. But the stamina, the shooting. There's a man that won the MVP. Oh my gosh, it's number 4. His name's escaping me right now. But he didn't get the most points, but he was the scrappiest player out there. Played nonstop. Hurt his ankle badly. Would not come out of the game. We talked to him during the halftime. He said, "How's your ankle?" "Oh, it's a little swollen. No big deal." He just was massive, and he was like the heart and soul of the Pilots, and congratulations to him for that. A big deal that happened, though, during the halftime of that game, LSU President Wade Roos was in attendance. And he came out onto the court with Chancellor Paul Carell from LSU-A and Chancellor Bob Smith from LSU-S. And huge, applause from the stands. But for Wade Roos to come from Baton Rouge for that game, of course, and then, of course, LSU-S lady pilot. Well, they're not the lady pilots anymore. They're the pilots. But for them to have both sides of the championship, women and men, says a lot for that program. But hats off to Wade Roos for making the trip up from Baton Rouge to support these LSU systems schools.
Yeah, that is pretty cool.
Yeah, it was neat.
One thing I did notice, I was just curious. I compared the roster for LSU Shreveport this year to last year. They only had 2 players on this year's team that were on last year's team.
Oh, wow.
I mean, and if you kind of watch their program year in, year out, that's sort of the way they do it.
And so let me say, did you say you watched the stream?
Yes.
So you may have heard me make the comment. There were at least 2 different times where Coach Blankenship and a player were getting into vocal altercations with each other.
Yeah.
I mean, the players were yakking at the coach. You got to get, and the coach was yelling. I mean, there may be a lot of transfers after this season too. I don't know. It just really didn't seem to be a cohesive unit. The talent was there, no doubt about it. And I think they had 7 dunks to LSU's 2 dunks. So then they had raw talent, laying it up there and just slam two-handed slams, putting your feet up to the backboard when you come down. Just raw talent. Street ball at times, behind the back passes, no look passes. I mean, just raw talent. But I will tell you that I was uncomfortable. Right in front of us was that altercation going on between the player and the coach. So don't know, that maybe just be the style they're accustomed to. But when you made that observation about the shifting and the switches, very interesting.
Yeah, I feel like their program feels at times a little mercenary. That they bring in these guys just for like a year. And I'm guessing they're not there for the scholarship aspects of LSU Shreveport, which it's been different for me to watch as someone that was associated with LCU during the days that we were Division III. Because as a Division III school, nobody's there on an athletic scholarship. A lot of times they were on scholarships for academics and other things. So I did feel, and one thing I noticed is that you had so many more 4-year players, especially like in the Gene Rushing era, and then even in the Randy Mason era, so many young men that were brought in as freshmen from high school, outstanding high school players, and then you'd watch them develop over 4 years. In the NAIA, you kind of lose that, I've noticed, or at least in basketball, that's not as much the case, where you're really relying a lot more on transfers and guys that are kind of coming in for a lot of these ones and dones. And I'm not sure I really enjoy that as much. Like LCU on their senior day had 2 players that had been there for 4 years. All the rest were there anywhere between 1 or 2.
Interesting.
And I think they had 7 that walked for senior day.
Oddly enough, on LSU-A's girls team, women's basketball team, there was 1 senior. It was Princess Golf, who transferred from LSU. So they're very young squad for LSU-A.
Right.
In the past, you've had a lot more seniors, but kind of starting over.
It does seem like our women's program has still kind of had the players coming from high school, although we've had a couple of transfers this year. But I just noticed that that's a real difference in the NAI. Not saying that's necessarily a good or bad thing, but I do think you kind of lose something with not having players come through a school for 4 years. And it's about more than athletics. It's about your personal growth and development. You're getting a degree. And then the proof's in the pudding when you look at something like the LC program through the years. How many former players of Gene Rushing and even Rainey Mason have gone into the coaching ranks?
Right.
I mean, there's a whole fraternity of those guys. And even when Jason Tinsley was coaching the women's program, several of his young women went on to coach in the high school ranks, including the young lady who coaches Oak Hill, and there are a couple of others. So I like that. I would like to see more of that. it's not just about winning to me. It's about how you're shaping the lives of young people.
And from a fan perspective, you like seeing the familiar faces for
Yeah.
a while. You develop relationships and get to see them flourish and grow. So it's nice to see LCU, LSUA, recruit Oak Hill and Atlanta and Pittman and Cocoa, and
Pineville.
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
Because we had one of the Pineville players from 2 years ago just transfer in, and he's, I think, a sophomore, so I'll have him hopefully 2 more years.
Good.
But anyway, much more coming up in hour number 2. Stay with us.
You've been listening to Talkback. The opinions expressed were those of the hosts and callers, and not necessarily those of Cenlaw Broadcasting.
AM 970, FM 104.9, KSYL, and KRRV 100.3, HD3, Alexandria.
This is CBS News on the Hour, your home for original reporting.
I'm Deborah Rodriguez. 2 days into the war, and the Pentagon's declared U.S. forces have achieved air superiority over Iran. It comes at a price. General Dan Kane confirms a 4th U.S. soldier died today of injuries sustained in Saturday's attack.
We expect to take additional losses, and as always, we will work to minimize U.S. losses.
Asked about the administration's decision to attack, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said,
"This is not a so-called regime change war, but the regime sure did change, and the world is better off for it."
Hegseth is not ruling out troops on the ground in Iran.
Iran has an ability to project power against us and our allies in ways that we can't tolerate. So whether that's ballistic missiles and drones, so offensive capabilities, effectively their Navy, which would attempt to set other terms and impose different costs.
The Red Crescent reports 555 people have died in Iran. State TV says the Ayatollah's wife was among them. The war is widening. Sirens sounding as Israel and Lebanon target each other for the first time in a year. The BBC's Yolande Nell is in Jerusalem.
The Lebanese armed group said it launched missiles and drones at the Israeli city of Haifa in retaliation for the killing of Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei. Israel's military responded with strikes on Hezbollah's strongholds in southern Beirut and told people in more than 50 villages in southern Lebanon to leave.
The U.S. confirms Kuwait accidentally shot down 3 American fighter jets. All 6 crew members ejected safely. Oil prices are spiking this morning. CBS's Kelly O'Grady predicts other costs will follow.
It's not just about gas prices. How does everything that we get to us? It's on trucks. And when oil prices go up, so do diesel prices. So there are so many different secondary effects.
There are protests across this country. Carla Reyes in New York City.
People in Iran have the right to determine for themselves their own future. And so it's not up to us to meddle in the affairs of other countries.
Members of Los Angeles Iranian community cheered the Ayatollah's deaths in the streets of Westwood. The Supreme Court hears arguments today on whether people who use illegal drugs can be barred from owning guns. Legal analyst Thane Rosenbaum.
The government here is arguing that there has always been laws restricting gun access to habitual drunkards. 43 states, in fact, have laws restricting gun access to drug addicts.
Dow futures are down 514. S&P futures off 72. NAS futures down 331. This is CBS News.
Every Sunday, moderator Margaret Brennan goes face-to-face with top leaders to make you better informed. Face the Nation, Sunday on CBS and streaming on Paramount+.
Jen, I didn't know you shopped here. Hey, I'm hunting for something fresh for spring. Oh, girl, skip them all. Jewelry Television has the best spring looks right now. JTV, way ahead of you. Just hit up JTV.com yesterday for the cutest clover earrings, 2 tennis bracelets, and this gorgeous pearl ring.
Right now, new customers get $20 off any purchase of $99 or more at JTV.com.
Oh, and gold hoops and this turquoise bracelet. Just a couple things, huh? Maybe more than a couple.
My name is Whitney Allen, and I'm a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought we'd ever have to use life insurance, but the unexpected happened. With Ethos, signing up was fast and 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage. I'm grateful we were prepared.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/radio. That's ethos.com/radio. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
A treat in the sky tonight into tomorrow.
The blood red moon will be visible from North America, Central America, and the western part of South America. Australia and Eastern Asia will see it Tuesday night. During a full lunar eclipse, the Earth is between the sun and moon, casting a shadow that covers the full moon. The moon looks red because of its stray bits of sunlight filtering through Earth's atmosphere. There won't be another total lunar eclipse until late 2028. Jennifer Kuiper, CBS News.
Jelly Roll's letting out a secret. He says the 4 awards he won a month ago hurt.
I was out there running around all the Grammys with a broken collarbone. Every time I hugged somebody that week, I wanted to scream. I just didn't say it. But every time somebody squeezed me, dude, I thought I was going to cry.
He says he flipped his ATV just before the awards show and broke his collarbone in his Instagram video. He says it's not going to stop him from riding again.
Moral of the story, get back on that pony, baby.
He says he does take full responsibility for the accident. Deborah Rodriguez, CBS News.
Louisiana Radio Network, I'm John Burns. It's been less than 3 years since the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry introduced a plan to improve our state's economic competitiveness. Andrew Greenstein has details on the progress.
Part of the plan involves getting the state's rankings in job creation and wage growth into the middle third. Labby President and CEO Will Green says the state is now 24th in both metrics, well ahead of schedule.
Our goal was to do that by 2030, and we're already there in just 2 years.
Green says the state is also well on its way towards achieving its goals in third grade reading proficiency and high school graduation rate, but now is not the time to let up on the accelerator.
We're way ahead of where we thought we'd be in just 2 years, but that's not to say that it's mission accomplished. We still got a lot of work left to do.
I'm Andrew Greenstein.
Louisiana Office of Motor Vehicles warns residents about a text scam claiming to be from their office regarding unpaid traffic tickets. OMV officials warning us all not to click on links in unsolicited messages. LRN. LSU applicants will once again have to submit their ACT or SAT scores when applying to the Baton Rouge campus. LSU's been operating under a test optional policy since June of 2022. LSU Board of Supervisors member James Williams opposes changing the policy, saying it'll put low-income families at a disadvantage because they can't afford ACT tutoring.
There are plenty of kids who we want at LSU who don't come from households where they can afford to get that additional help on testing.
But LSU says retention rates and the GPA of students who do not submit standardized test scores are lower than those of students who do provide ACT scores. LSU Chancellor Dr. James Dalton also says the test score is one piece they'll look for at admission.
We've got more Louisiana students that are enrolled at LSU than we ever have before, and this is a part of that process of making sure that when students apply to LSU that we have every piece of information that we can have to ensure their success.
LRN.
This is Dr. Jonathan Hunter with the clinics. We provide primary, family, and chronic care along with gastroenterology, podiatry with on-site lab and x-ray services. I'm pleased to welcome family physician Dr. Noah Miller to our team. We are currently accepting new patients and same-day appointments are available. If you're admitted into the hospital, our doctors will see you there as well. Most insurance and Medicare are accepted. The clinic's on North Bolton, 445-9823, and online at theclinics.us.
Good morning. Some clouds to start us out this morning. That'll give way to sunny skies later in the day. Afternoon highs near 81 degrees. Winds out of the south-southeast at about 5 to 10 miles an hour. I see some fog overnight tonight. Otherwise, a few clouds here and there. 57 the overnight low. Our Tuesday, once that fog burns off, partly to mostly cloudy skies. High temps topping out at 82. From the Cenla Broadcasting Weather Center, I'm Dave Gratian.
Talkback is sponsored by The Clinics. With 18 providers and 3 locations, someone can see you today.
It's Talkback, Central Louisiana's longest-running talk show. Whether it's the guests or the callers, Talkback is where Central Louisiana begins its conversation.
Through the blood of our people. Car bombs in Beirut, rocket attacks on our ships, murders at our embassies, roadside bombs in Iraq and Afghanistan, funded and armed by Iranian Quds Force and IRGC killers. My generation of veterans carried the names of brothers who never came home. Brothers butchered by Iranian-backed roadside bombs and well-armed militias, thousands of our own. We didn't start this war, but under President Trump, we are finishing it. Their war on Americans has become our retribution against their Ayatollah.
All right, welcome back, everyone. Hour number 2 of Talkback here on your Monday. Al Quartermont, along with Nathan Martin. That was Secretary of War Pete Hegseth. speaking moments ago, talking about the attack on Iran over the weekend and what kind of comes next. And here's some more of what he had to say regarding kind of the timeline of all of this. Take a listen.
To allow the president the decision space in the future. So even before this buildup in the last 30 days, we discreetly brought defensive assets in to make sure, understanding that there are Iranian capabilities. As far as time frame, I would never hang a time frame from our perspective. The commander-in-chief sets the op tempo in terms of this fight. As I said, it's on his terms. And we'll make sure that Admiral Cooper and his team have everything they need, not just to defend. I mean, the best defense is a good offense. And so we're aggressively pushing into that airspace over that southern flank to ensure that we control it and we destroy anything that moves that would attempt to shoot us.
All right. So one thing I know people get concerned about when you have a situation like this is, are we entering into another one of those, quote, forever wars? I don't think so for this reason. I don't think President Trump wants that kind of a situation. I think his goal is to do what they have to do to set it up that the Iranian people can take over and they can then lead themselves. But in the meantime, trying to eradicate a lot of that terrorist element. I mean, remember, Iran has been the largest state sponsor of terrorism really for the last 40 or 50 years. And as Hegseth did lay out there, it's not just about what happened this weekend. It's been what's been building for years, and the blood of many Americans that has been spilled because of what Iran was able to do. So, yeah, time will tell, obviously, what all comes of it, but I just don't really think we're going to see that, quote, forever war.
Well, I think people are obviously worried. Parents of soldiers are concerned. Will there be boots on the ground in Iran? What type of, what kind of transition will take place? You know, I will say it seems to be a pretty huge intelligence coup for both America and Israel, who work together. The Ayatollah was famously known for being super conservative, being very secretive in his activities, and somehow I think the Israeli Mossad or whatever their intelligence gathering organization is that did this had someone on the inside that knew where all these leaders were that particular day. A very odd thing. And you look at the buildup. I heard by the way, today's Wright Report, WRIGHT, is must listen to podcast material. The best synopsis of what I've heard going into it. And he describes how there were American leaders that wanted to do this a few months ago when the thousands of people were hitting the streets. But the counselors told the president, we don't have the assets to sustain this. So let's get I think it's the Gerald R. Ford group over there. They started moving these assets over the last month or so. And you knew something was happening when that happened. And it was also a funny story last week. This wasn't in the podcast today, but last week there was a story I came across. Hegseth said that he sometimes orders lots of pizza for the Pentagon just to throw off the sniffers, right? Because they always know when you order a bunch of pizza, something's going down.
Right.
So he was randomly ordering bunches of pizza at different times so they wouldn't know which time was the real time. So apparently there was a lot of pizza ordered over the weekend.
Yeah. It's kind of like a newsroom election night. You know? It's always about the pizza. That's very interesting. I don't know if you saw it, the video of the plane, the U.S. fighter jet evading the missiles from Iran, and then they just kind of blew up on their own. That was really cool.
Yeah. We're at the age now you wonder, was that AI or was that real? But that was pretty America.
Yeah, very much America. All right, let's bring the news home a little bit more. I think we've talked about this subject quite a bit here on Talkback this morning. By the way, our number is 318-442-8255. Okay, now that we're into March, we are inching closer to the spring elections. So the primaries are in May, correct, Nathan?
That's right.
With the runoffs in June.
May 16th is the primary. June 27th is the runoff.
Okay. All right. So the big race that people seem to have their eyes on is that for U.S. Senate. Jeff Sadow had an interesting column over the weekend in the Louisiana Hayride. I don't know if you followed the Hayride, but excuse me, Sadow is an associate professor of political science at LSU Shreveport, and is kind of known for his political takes. So he writes in the hayride. He says the death spiral of Republican Senator Bill Cassidy's Senate career continues, according to a new poll. Worse for him, there's little he can do about it. The firm Quantis Insights released results polling the contest where he faces major challengers for the GOP nomination in the form of State Treasurer John Fleming and Congresswoman Julia Letlow from earlier this week. They show Fleming at 34%, Letlow at 25%, and Cassidy at 20%, with 20% still undecided.
So that means at this point, it looks like Cassidy might be left out of a runoff if he comes in that way. And if I'm not mistaken, Qantas, they weren't hired by a firm to do that. I think they're an independent tracking, so there was no bias in their questions.
Yeah, he writes, it's hard to shoot the messenger on this one. The firm is not affiliated with a campaign, to your point. Not that that disqualifies such a poll, for as long as the protocol, the questions ordering and their wording and answers is unbiased, the sampling frame reasonable and sufficiently large, and the contact methods of respondents can produce that desired sampling frame, it will produce valid and reliable results for the population of voters. And this appears to be a quality poll. Let's see. He goes on to say unaffiliated with parties, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, accordingly, Cassidy, he says, remains in deep trouble by the numbers. Worse for him, it would take a monumental effort by him to reverse this, as the poll's internal numbers show. Worst of all, none of the three different strategies from what he has been doing will succeed in accomplishing this. While the poll didn't ask about candidate knowledge numbers, we can assume name recognition for Cassidy is close to universal, and that a substantial majority have heard of Fleming and Letlow. That creates a tremendous anchor around his neck, because 2/3 have an unfavorable view of him, and almost half say a primary reason in their voting choice to replace him, while another fifth who didn't say what that would be the case if he made the runoff, depending who the opponent is. So a strategy of getting GOP voters to switch to him will fail. A largely positive campaign, such as selectively emphasizing his actions in the Senate and his ties to popular Republican President Trump, will not work to overcome this inertia. This means he must continue to bash others, which in reality means Letlow. His immediate problem is to get into the runoff, and it's easiest to pull just a few points from your closest rival instead of many more from somebody farther ahead. That leaves the closer candidate relatively unaffected. As well, since they are closer ideologically to each other than to the very comprehensive and consistent conservative Fleming, Cassidy should have an easier time siphoning off votes from Letlow, whom his campaign and surrogates have already gone after on ideological and ethical grounds. But this has a built-in limitation, Sadow writes. He says slinging mud may detach a voter from a candidate, but then it's another matter to grab that voter. These could head to another candidate or just roll off and not vote. In this instance, the best he could hope for would be the roll-off, given his high unfavorability, which is less efficient than snatching the votes. On the, quote, liberal Letlow charge, which we certainly have heard a lot of that just pushes the many bummed with Cassidy voters determined to find an alternative into the Fleming column. The ethics publicity, Letlow reported very late some stock transactions, just invites those with which that resonates, who are less enamored with Fleming, but also not enamored with Cassidy, either to suck it up with Fleming or stay at home and not vote at all. Another strategy would seek to capture the roughly fifth of voters declaring themselves undecided. For capturing them disproportionately could vault him into a runoff. Still, there's Cassidy's unfavorability that may discourage snagging them. Unfortunately, the poll doesn't break down vote by intention, which would give a definitive view of how the undecided crowd might vote. As it is among unaffiliated voters, the undecided portion isn't much higher at 24% than it is for Republicans at 21%. And then he says a final strategy would hone in on unaffiliated voters, trying to expand the electorate rather than shuffling around existing chunks under the presumption that they're disproportionately likely to vote for him. A corollary that would be for the deep-pocketed campaign to conduct very expensive operations designed to get registered Democrats to switch to unaffiliated more than 30 days prior to the May 16th election, on the theory that as Democrats, they would nominate a token candidate. They would want to choose the lesser of what they see as the evils of the GOP candidate for that party's nominee's eventual coronation in the general election. But again, there is high unfavorability where just over half of unaffiliated voters think of him unfavorably. Plus, if he runs a campaign that touts supporting conservative policy preferences, especially Trump-backed items, that presumably does not appeal much to the unaffiliated voters as a whole, and especially not to Democrats. So even with a great amount of swag in the bank to blitz the airwaves, he can't publicize himself as all things to all voters. Finally, unaffiliated voters are significantly less likely to vote in a primary election, reducing that pool. In fact, a large portion of unaffiliated voters at the present can be expected not to vote. So dynamics and his own choices, plus having two deep-pocketed challengers helping to corner him, have created a silo from which his campaign cannot escape. The tack his campaign and its surrogates currently take, burning down Letlow relative to all others, optimizes his chances of making the inevitable runoff, although the data shows in a runoff he loses both groups of voters by party and consequently to either challenger. Still, one step at a time, and he can hope for a miracle. And those are the numbers that I've seen too. Even if he gets into a runoff against either one, he's behind them.
Well, he's behind the 8 ball either way. I wondered, and this article did a great job of explaining, I wondered why he was going after Letlow so hard when Fleming's in the lead. But the article indicates that it's easier to peel off some of the second person.
Correct.
So that then you can get into the runoff. But even then, you got a long ground to take up. Those Letlow people, many of them are not voting for Letlow. They're voting against you. I hate to say that.
Yeah. No, his vote to convict President Trump on his impeachment will be his albatross.
Right.
There's just no getting around it.
And you said it accurately. It was not his vote to impeach. It was his vote to convict. The House impeaches, the Senate convicts, and he stood alone. Look, many will say he stood on his convictions, but many say his convictions were wrong. And they don't want somebody with wrong, in their mind, headed convictions representing them in the Senate.
Right, exactly. And that's what people are saying. If that's how you feel, if that's what your convictions are, they don't resonate with us. We disagree with you, and therefore we don't believe that you're qualified to be our senator.
They saw it as a witch hunt, and that he sided with the witch hunters, and therefore they would not want him to represent them. I got that. After church yesterday, a couple people pulled me aside and asked me about the Senate race, and I turned it back to them, asking what they thought. Both of them thought the same thing. It was no way Cassidy, period. They were trying to decide between Letlow and Fleming. And so I just let them speak and, tell them I think they got good thought. I understand their thought processes. And I'm not getting, I'm getting out of politics. I'm enjoying this sitting on the sideline and watching, but it is interesting to hear the dialogues. And I think Cassidy's in deep trouble.
Yes, no question.
He is a nice guy. When he calls in here and he makes himself available, he's genuinely a nice guy. But in politics, what's the old nice guys don't always finish first.
Yeah. Well, and I've also heard from local politicians or people that his office is great to work with. That's all well and good.
Yeah.
But if people don't like him because of what he did with that one vote, he's cooked.
Interestingly, he has picked up some endorsements that have surprised me from municipal and parochial leaders. And I think it's all tied to, forgive me, the government teat. I mean, he's gotten them some projects and they're thanking him for that. But that also is how politics works. And I think people see through that as well.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
I mean, if he'd brought us a $6 million project, we would have, whoever we is, you would have to say thank you. But the people are like, we remember.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we'll take a break. More coming up.
Talkback is sponsored by The Clinics. With 18 providers and 3 locations, someone can see you today.
Dan owed an unbelievable amount of money to the IRS.
I got behind on my taxes. It's a horrible feeling.
he was in denial.
And when I got those letters from the IRS, you wanted to act like they didn't exist.
Finally, Dan turned to Optima Tax Relief, the leading tax resolution firm. A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau, they've resolved over $1 billion for their clients.
Optima got me a settlement with the IRS. These people are really people-friendly. It was every bit of a new lease on life for me.
The fast action and the great results made Dan's head spin.
I felt like I was in a dream, but it's real, and I have paperwork to prove it. They got the job done, and life is good.
For tax help you can trust, call Optima now for a free consultation.
If you're worried about what's going to happen with the IRS, stop worrying. Make the call now.
Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
My mother told me about Pro Carpet and duct cleaning when the twins were so sick with allergies and pollen, and boy, did it help, and lowered our utility bill. And we almost have no dust in our house.
You know, 50% of all illness is caused by indoor air. 9 out of 10 systems fail because of dirt and dust. Doesn't your family deserve clean air?
For a cleaner, healthier home, call 445-4818. That's 445-4818. If you'd like to take part in the show today, call the BOM Bank Talk line at 442-8255. That's 442-TALK. And remember, if you're looking to purchase or refinance your home, call Christina Bagwell at the BOM Bank Mortgage Department at 448-2430.
It's Talkback, 970 AM, 104.9 FM, KSYL.
In Iran in 2023, there was 75,000 mosques in Iran. In 2023, 50,000 mosques shut down. 50,000 mosques shut down in 2023 because people are not going. Whoa. The fastest growing church in the world right now is not in America. The fastest growing church is in Iran under Islamic dictatorship. I was just preaching in Indonesia. Indonesia's like 90% Muslim. I was preaching in Indonesia, Brandon, and as I'm preaching, there's Muslim ladies at the back in hijabs repenting of their sin and turning to Jesus. As I'm preaching, I'm realizing God is moving. Indonesia sees over 100,000 Muslims come to Christ every single year. Egypt, although they're persecuting Christians, Muslims are coming to Jesus. In Gaza, there was a report that came out. A report came out in 2023 where 200 Gazans saw visions, exactly what you were just saying, saw visions and dreams of Jesus Christ the same night. What people need to understand, Jesus is not just a fairy tale 2,000 years ago. He's still alive and moving on the earth today. People are still seeing Jesus. Millions of people are coming to Christ. God is moving all around the world. And the question is, are you going to jump on this? Are you going to follow Jesus Christ and get your life right with God? Or are you just going to keep living life until you hear that trumpet and it's going to be too late? And that's why, by the way, the devil always says tomorrow. Everyone listening, they're listening. They're like, yeah, I'll get my life right with God next year. I'll get my life. You always hear these voices in your mind. It's like, I'll stop getting drunk next year. I'll stop cheating my wife next week. And all of a sudden, you always hear tomorrow.
All right. That was Martin Cedra, interviewed on the Brandon Tatum show. Cedra is a pastor in Australia. He's originally from Egypt. He was at NRB, the convention we went to a couple of weeks ago. He's originally from Egypt. His family escaped Egypt, and I believe they were raised Muslim but became Christians. And so he has a very, very, very strong passion for reaching out to Muslims to work to bring them to Christianity. And I heard him at NRB talking about Iran as well. So the fact you kind of already had this underlying pressure in Iran where people have basically said, enough, we don't want this anymore. Of course, there really wasn't much they could do about it when you have no weapons.
Right.
We saw in the protests from the last few weeks, estimates of at least 40,000 people slaughtered by their own government simply for speaking out. We can't even identify with that. But I don't know. Seems like something's happening. It's kind of exciting.
Yeah, I'm seeing different reports from the sources I track of significant revival among Christians in Iran, but it's very much a peaceful revival. And the question, Trump he's called out persecution of Christians in other nations, Nigeria, for example. There's been no specific mention of that in Iran, but it does appear to be a resurgence of Christianity in Iran. many people, and it's not a banned religion. There is a state recognized group, but there's also a tremendous number of closed door house churches that are beginning to speak out, and many of them have rejoiced over this weekend. Their prayer services yesterday were full of jubilation from the reports I've read.
Yeah, it is. I think it is one of the most important things that's happening in world history in the last many years that's going on right now, and we're getting to witness it. I'm excited to see. I mean, and for us, having been born in the 60s, raised in the 70s, it is an indelible thing in my mind what our embassy went through in the late 1970s when the Iranians captured our embassy and kept our people hostage up until the day in which Ronald Reagan took office. And then they kind of thought better of it, didn't they?
Kind of the ultimate slap in the face to Carter, but also a distinction when you recognize strong leadership, because they knew that Reagan, can I interchange their names almost?
Some might say
sense of strength was like, okay, we're not going to mess around with you anymore.
Right. So, in fact, this was Donald Trump. I found this clip. I was just perusing through X. This was him in 1980, October of 1980, when we had the American hostages that were taken during the revolution. And listen to what he had to say about it back then.
When you get the respect of the other countries, then the other countries tend to do a little bit as you do, and you can create the right attitudes. The Iranian situation is a case in point. That they hold our hostages is just absolutely and totally ridiculous. That this country sits back and allows a country such as Iran to hold our hostages, to my way of thinking, is a horror. And I don't think they'd do it with other countries. I honestly don't think they'd do it with other countries.
Obviously, you're advocating that we should have gone in there with troops, etc., and brought our boys out.
I absolutely feel that, yes. I don't think there's any question, and there's no question in my mind. I think right now would be an oil-rich nation, and I believe that we should have done it, and I'm very disappointed that we didn't do it, and I don't think anybody would have held us in abeyance. I don't think anybody would have been angry with us, and we had every right to do it at the time. I think we've lost the opportunity.
That was 1980.
Wow.
Yeah.
Voices changed just a little bit, but the tenor of strength shown then. I guess I didn't realize he was such a connoisseur of international events back then.
Oh, yeah.
I've always thought of him, I hate to say it, but when he came down that escalator, I said this on the show before, I told my wife, it's just a circus act. He's trying to get attention for his media stuff. This isn't for real. This is just a gambit.
Yeah.
And I've never been more wrong. Well, no, I've probably been more wrong. I've been wrong a lot. So I'm surprised you even let me sit on the side of the desk. But nevertheless, he has definitely demonstrated himself to have a grasp of international affairs. It's almost like he speaks, how can I say it? He lowers his speaking to a level to make us all think he's dumb, but he's not dumb. Kind of like John Kennedy.
Yeah.
I bought John Kennedy's book. I'm splitting my sides laughing. I'm not even through the first chapter yet. We had a caller call in and recommend it, but it's a great book. So funny. I can't wait to get through it. I got to tell you, I'm highlighting things left and right. I'm going to have to go through another highlighter. He is a hilarious guy.
All right. We'll take a break. We're coming up.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. Stock futures are lower this hour as we head into the opening bell this Monday morning. That's as escalating conflict in the Mideast sends shockwaves through the oil market. NYMEX crude surging more than 8% at more than $72 a barrel. And Brent crude at one point skyrocketing more than 13%, all triggering new inflation concerns and has investors backing off forecasts for a March interest rate cut from the Federal Reserve. Amazon among the shares lower after Amazon Web Services suffered a disruption when unidentified objects struck one of its data centers in the UAE, causing a fire. A jury trial set to begin today over claims Live Nation Entertainment is illegally monopolizing the live music industry and should be forced to shut its Ticketmaster unit. And if you're looking for a work-from-home job, turns out the chances of finding one are remote, shall we say. Wall Street Journal says work-from-home jobs are 4 times harder to get than other jobs. That's according to analysis by JobHire.ai. Denise Pellegrini, Bloomberg Radio.
Some smiles sound like this, while others sound this way.
If you'd like to improve the way your smile sounds, the folks over at Today's Dental in Pineville can deliver. Over the years, hundreds of Central Louisiana patients have visited Today's Dental and then left completely satisfied. Their dental implant procedure is amazingly simple, low anxiety, and completely affordable. Today's technology makes your beautiful smile easier than ever. The staff at Today's Dental go out of their way to make you comfortable with calming in-office IV sedation that's administered by a highly skilled certified nurse and anesthetist. And their multiple finance options make the entire procedure truly affordable. Want your smile to sound better? Give Today's Dental a call at 318-448-4540. It's a general dental facility on Highway 28 East in Pineville, owned by Dr. Jonas Goche. That's 318-448-4540.
Hi, I'm Nancy Landry. No matter what part of our great state you call home, Louisiana's elections are an important part of who we are. In 2026, closed party primaries will change how some of those elections happen, so you'll want to know what to do. Keeping your registration current ensures you'll get the right party-based ballot. Remember, this change only applies to certain offices. To learn more, visit govote.com or download the GoVote app.
Paid for by the Louisiana Secretary of State's Office.
Good morning. Some clouds to start us out this morning. That'll give way to sunny skies later in the day. Afternoon highs near 81 degrees. Winds out of the south-southeast at about 5 to 10 miles an hour. I see some fog overnight tonight. Otherwise, a few clouds here and there. 57, the overnight low. Our Tuesday, once that fog burns off, partly to mostly cloudy skies. High temps topping out at 82. From the Sunlaw Broadcasting Weather Center, I'm Dave Gratian.
970 AM, 104.9 FM, KSYL. Now back to Talkback.
To the media outlets and political left screaming endless wars, stop. This is not Iraq. This is not endless. I was there for both. Our generation knows better, and so does this president. He called the last 20 years of nation-building wars dumb, and he's right. This is the opposite. This operation is a clear, devastating, decisive mission. Destroy the missile threat, destroy the Navy, no nukes. Israel has clear missions as well, for which we are grateful. Capable partners. As we've said since the beginning, capable partners are good partners. Unlike so many of our traditional allies who wring their hands and clutch their pearls, hemming and hawing about the use of force.
Pete Hegseth this morning is kind of calling out, I think, some of those European countries there.
Nice to see some of the countries, though, respond in solidarity.
Yeah.
Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, made a strong statement in favor of United Arab Emirates and expressing their support for those countries that have been attacked by Iran. And so you're starting to see this divide. You expect China and Russia to, condemn this. You really do.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see which side people come down. Britain seemed to be kind of hedging their bets this morning. Mm-hmm. They were like, we weren't involved, but we will protect our people. Mm-hmm. But there were, no involvement on our part. Are they scared?
Yeah. I believe they are.
I think they've allowed too much into their own borders.
Yep. Meanwhile, at the New York Times, the paper of record, the headline in the obituary, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, hardline cleric who made Iran a regional power, is dead at 86. Not to be outdone by the Washington Post, with his bushy white beard and easy smile, Ayatollah Khamenei cut a more avuncular figure in public than his perpetually scowling but much more revered mentor, as he was known to be fond of Persian poetry and Western novels, especially Victor Hugo's Les Miserables.
Can we just humanize this guy? I mean, how much are you going to humanize this murderer?
Somebody said if the New York Times were writing the headline for Hitler's death, it would have said, Führer Adolf Hitler, dog-loving artist who made Germany a world power, is dead at 56.
Brutal, man. Absolutely. That was, oh gosh. I actually, the other day, I think yesterday or Saturday, I forget which, I get these pop-ups. I go to the Google News feed to see, and they'll give me links to stuff. I finally clicked on the 3 dots and told it, don't show me anything else from the New York Times. I just don't even want to see it anymore.
Yeah.
Just stop showing it to me.
Yeah, it's just astonishing how I don't even know what to say. I mean, as someone who has worked an entire career in journalism, where we're at right now with journalism in the United States just makes me want to barf. I mean, truly makes me want to barf.
Your chosen profession.
Yeah. It's amazing. So can't make it up sometimes.
No, you can't.
Can you?
You can't. We are one, there is curiosity. I think we're going to have to be mindful of our surroundings. Austin, Texas, you had the gentleman who perhaps had some ties to Iran. He's from Senegal, if I remember right.
Right.
The report I heard is that he had overstayed his original visa years ago. Then he married an American woman to become a citizen later. And so he ended up getting that citizenship. But his ties are being questioned as he randomly drove around, rolled his window down, started shooting, and got out and started walking and shot. And he is dead, of course, but he was wearing a T-shirt that had Iran on it, made statements that supposedly were sympathetic to Iran. And this would have been after the report, after the initial attack on Saturday. So the question then becomes, are these the kinds of things, or they're going to be independent lone wolves, for example, or is there some sort of coordinated effort to disrupt life in America? And I think we all need to keep our head on a swivel and just be aware of your surroundings. And hats off to the Austin. I think the paramedics were there within 57 seconds of the first 911 call. So they were obviously close by and responded quickly. But, there's a lot of people, sadness in Austin, which is kind of a liberal mecca in Texas, has become that over the last decade or so. So will that happen in other places? I think we're all on edge right now.
Yes. All right, we will take a break. More coming up.
KSYL.
Need office supplies, janitorial supplies, or office furniture, either new or pre-owned? Then look no further than DTW Office Supply, with wholesale prices on a large selection of top quality products, all with the personalized hometown service that you deserve. We're proud to serve the entire state of Louisiana with daily deliveries right to your door. Visit us today at 1219 MacArthur Drive or online at dtwofficesupply.com. That's DTW Office Supply, your trusted partner for all of your office needs. Quality, value, service.
Have a Class A or B CDL? Want to drive a local route every day? If you said yes, then you're who we're looking for. Waste Connections of Alexandria, Natchitoches, and Lafayette is hiring drivers with CDL license. You'll get competitive wages, paid vacations, a company stock program, a 401k with company match, medical, dental, vision, life, and disability insurance, and a local route with you at home with your family every night. Apply now at wasteconnections.com/employment. That's wasteconnections.com.
The Greenhouse presents Your Pet's Bedtime Prayer. Now I lay me down to sleep. The king-size bed is soft and deep. I sleep right in the center groove. My human beings can hardly move. I've trapped their legs, they're tucked in tight. And here is where I pass the night. So thank you, Lord, for giving me these human beings that I see. The ones that hug and hold me tight and share their bed with me each night. The Greenhouse.
It's Talkback, 970 AM, 104.9 FM, KSYL.
All right, back with you on a Monday. Al Quartermont, Nathan Martin, as we roll along here. Again, 318-442-8255 on the BOM Bank talk line. The phone's been a little quiet today. I guess people are reflecting. So, high school back?
I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. Before I jump into that, Elon Musk posted an interesting comparison of the AI responses to a simple question. The simple question was Donald Trump right to strike Iran? Must answer yes or no. ChatGPT said no. Claude gave a paragraph that said no. Gemini gave a paragraph that said no. Grok said yes.
Yeah.
So they're biased everywhere, right? Got to know what it is.
I've been using Grok actually more and more, just kind of for research or asking questions, and it's really pretty pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sort of, at this point, it's kind of the beta to the VHS of AI, where I feel like it's the better one, but it's not getting as much use. And that's a weird thing about products throughout American history is, what is it that gains the greater market penetration isn't always the best product for whatever reason.
True.
So
I think a lot of people think that Grok is an X-specific AI.
Right.
And they think of it as, well, if you're on Twitter/X, that's when you can use it. But it's a standalone product, right?
Yes. You can just go to grok.com and then it asks you can either sign up or sign in. If you have an X account, you just use that to sign in. But I like it. I do like it. And it's not just because of the political leanings or whatever. I just think it's clean, does a good job. So
sometimes,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, sometimes they're too wordy in their responses. Sometimes you're looking for a simpler answer. So
yeah.
Grok seems to be a to-the-point kind of product.
Right. So we'll see how it all shakes out. I mean, it's mind-blowing, all the things that are happening already with AI, and we are just starting. So
wasn't there a report that the Pentagon was using Claude and then they've stopped using it? I think OpenAI is trying to step into that. I read a report about that. Yeah, so Anthropic crashed a couple of days ago, leaving the Pentagon high and dry. OpenAI stepped in. That's what it is. Well, no, I'm sorry, not crash, clash. I guess if I could read through my trifocals right. It says Anthropic's Claude overtakes ChatGPT after Pentagon clash.
Right.
And so, yeah. Well, I stole your thunder. You were going to lead us into some local sports chat.
Yeah, no, I know you kind of keep up with the local high school basketball scene, and we have the state tournament happening down in Hammond this week with girls basketball.
Right.
And then boys.
They're in their qualification rounds.
Right.
Yeah. So they had their opening round this past week, Thursday, I believe it was. And my daughter goes to Pineville High School. So she, we paid the $20 for her to ride the school bus, which gave her the bus ride and the ticket to go down there, as Pineville, I think ranked number 20, drove down to Lafayette, ranked number 13. Of course, the top 8 get a first round bye. And Pineville surprised Lafayette, winning 68-58 over the higher seeded Lafayette. So they'll be traveling again tomorrow night.
And that's on the boys' side?
That's on the boys' side, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's
big upset for Chad Sears' team, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to see that accomplishment there. Ash, Peabody, and Tioga all had first-round byes because they are ranked so high in their respective divisions, and they will have home court advantage tomorrow night. So if you want to watch some playoff basketball, you'll get to see it in Rapides Parish at Ash, at Peabody, and at Tioga. I know Pineville is traveling back to St. Thomas More on Tuesday. Brother Martin is traveling to Tioga, and then Karen Crow is traveling up to Ash. Ash is ranked number 2, so they hope to take quick work of number 15, Karen Crow. In Division 2, Buckeye defeated St. Charles Catholic, and so they'll be hosting. No, actually, they're traveling to University Lab on Tuesday. And then Peabody's hosting Booker T. Washington from New Orleans. So that's a long trip for that New Orleans team to come up here.
Yeah.
I believe that will be on Tuesday evening. Menard, unfortunately, lost their first round bid against Capital, as did Northwood, losing the block. But over in Class B, Glenmora defeated Episcopal of Acadiana. So they will travel to Stanley, ranked number 6. And then Oak Hill defeated Doyline. So they will be traveling to Zwolle, ranked number 2. So a lot of great activity on the boys' side as they to have 3 Rapides Parish teams have first round byes is really nice.
And then the women's tournament gets underway today. Semifinal action down at Southeastern University in Hammond, and we do have a few local teams that'll be playing later on this afternoon. Simpson, which is number 1 in Class C, 38-4, they'll be taking on Evans. Hang on, this page just refreshed. Okay, here we go. All right, let's see. Non-select games, Division 3. You've got Rose Pine taking on Sacred Heart New Orleans at 8 p.m. Tomorrow, Menard, their girls team is number 4, 22-4. They'll take on the number 1 team in Select Division III, Lafayette Christian, which is 22-8. Fairview in Class B takes on Pitkin. That'll be a great matchup. That's an all Allen Parish matchup. 4:30 tomorrow.
That's going to be a packed house.
Oh, for sure. And I'm trying to see if we have any other local teams here. Thursday, Select Division II. Buckeye, the number 5 team, will take on Madison Prep, ranked number 1. Buckeye 24-6. And been kind of following their journey a little bit through Trooper Casey Wallace, who I think is an assistant coach with the team, and he posts a lot of stuff about them, so that's pretty exciting to see. So got several of our girls basketball teams that are playing down in Hammond this week. Good luck to all of them, and good luck to the boys teams as well. All right, we'll take another break, our last one, and we'll come back with another call that's on hold right after this.
Talkback is sponsored by The Clinics.
Louisiana forests once fueled our economy. Your granddad logged these woods. So did your dad. And now, Beaver Lake Renewable Energy is keeping that legacy alive, turning thinnings and wood byproducts into clean fuel. Right here in Pineville. It means more jobs, stronger forests, and a future that honors where Central Louisiana came from. Be part of Louisiana's next chapter. Visit beaverlakerenewable.com and find out how we're putting Central Louisiana back on the map.
Got a big day ahead of you? Then it's best to fuel up with some of St. best at Bricato's Restaurant. Walk right in and just smell that home-style cooking. Place your order, take a seat, and do breakfast right till 9:30 this morning. Get fresh biscuits, eggs any way you like them, melt-in-your-mouth pancakes, grits, hash browns, sausage, bacon, even wraps and sandwiches. And don't forget their fresh brewed coffee. Bricato's Restaurant, 28 West, right across from the Coliseum. Your breakfast is waiting for you.
970 AM, 104.9 FM, KSYL. To take part in the show, call 442-8255. That's 442-TALK. Talkback.
All right, let me correct myself. Pitkin is in Vernon Parish, but I know it's pretty close to Fairview.
It's still going to be a full house. I can guarantee.
If I remember right, Stephen Maxwell had his car damaged in Pitkin back when he was in high school.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Damaged at a basketball game?
Or something like that. Oh. Yeah.
Oh, we'll have to ask him. I may have that opportunity tomorrow morning.
I know they're rivals. Hopefully. Hopefully he's feeling better. All right, let's go to the phones. He's been waiting. Good morning. You're on Talkback.
Actually, it was a baseball game where his vehicle was somewhat maligned.
You remember the story better than we do. That's good.
Well, that was because we were talking about Pitkin and his alma mater one time. But I still recall when my parents got a used set of encyclopedias. And that was the AI of that time.
That's so true.
Great point.
Yeah. Encyclopedia Britannica?
It seems like that was what it was. And, of course, around that time, salespeople would be coming knocking on your door to sell you a brand new one. And
True.
I guess you could buy them in a series so you didn't have to put the money out at one time.
Yeah, you were only smart up until the A, B, C, D, E, and then you had to wait till your parents had enough money to buy the next set.
Anyway, I was just listening to the Beaver Lake ad just now, and the guy said, well, we're creating clean energy. Well, if it's so clean, why do they have to put the carbon dioxide in the ground?
That's a fair question.
I guess it all depends on your definition of clean, right?
Yeah, well, it's interesting how truth in advertising ought to apply to some of these different presentations. And I'm just passing the site for that wonderful AI unit by Boyce, and they're putting fences up all over the place.
Really?
Yeah, it was a great story over the weekend. KLB kind of shared. You guys talked about it on Friday, the outcome of the England Authority vote to make that a sub-district, and they call it a transformational opportunity for Rapides Parish, potentially larger than any single industrial investment even back in the 50s when Procter & Gamble and Dresser came to town. So they're putting out their chips, saying that, all in on this right now. Be interesting to see where it goes.
Well, one of the beauties of central Louisiana is that it's a green area. And it will hardly be a green area if it's covered up with AI plants and CO2 fuel systems. There's something to be said about green.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that your real estate guy would take me at great offense for saying that.
Well, there was speculation at one time that CLECO was going to put out a giant solar farm in that area. And CLECO does own a large parcel of land really close to that, behind the Rapid Station, Cowboy Town area. But this is a new site, as you mentioned, right there with access to I-49. Some are saying, there's a good bit of work being done at the Boyce exit by the Dairy Whip, and some are saying that work is in preparation for the number of trucks that would be coming in, construction trucks. Is even though you can see it from I-49, there's no easy access to get to it on that end of Boyce. You have to exit on the south end of Boyce, I believe, to get to it.
Well, based on my experience of the last 25 years in this area, any kind of road work like that lasts about half a year before it's all beat up to pieces by the heavy equipment.
Well, you put the kind of heavy equipment it would take to build that data center on there, you're right, it's going to create havoc with the roads. I guess you could take the Highway 8 exit, the Flatwoods exit, and then come back Highway 1 towards Boyce and cross underneath the interstate. There would be the other access to that point.
Yeah, but the good side of all this is I'll be able to use AI now where I can turn Nathan into like a caricature of a Mexican jumping bean.
I'm already halfway there.
All right, one last call, I think, for this morning. Good morning, you're on Talkback.
No, I'm glad you talked about had that ad for the plant there. I can think of a better use. I was coming back from West Monroe Friday from hauling a load, and a friend of mine lives in Round Island. He's in the timber business, and he invited me to go by in Urania and look at the plant there. Now, I used to haul from LP there, had a plywood mill. I went by it, and there's a lumber mill, and then there's the pellet mill right next to it. And it is unbelievable at the difference. It's a giant operation. Now, I wish they had something like, if they needed another one, have a pellet mill there. They could load on the barges right on the river, barge it down to Baton Rouge, save freight and everything. And right now, I could see they had some rail cars there, and he said that they use rail cars mostly, but sometimes the railroad is not running for some reason, and they have to truck it down there. But I'd rather see something like a pellet mill there, and it's not that far of the river, I don't think, and just do that rather than this other stuff. So I don't know, we'll see, but I can think of better uses in what they're going to do. But anyway, well, that's it. Y'all have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thanks
you
for
very
the
much.
thoughts. Yeah, obviously we, through the months on this show, ever since the proposal was made to turn the facility, the former IP paper mill, into a methanol plant with the waste from that, the carbon captured from that, then being exported off and then eventually put into the ground somewhere. That component of it continues to be largely controversial and, at least from our audience, largely negative. But the powers that be in the states, they're all about jobs. They're all about creating economic opportunity. At least that's how it's couched, how it's termed. So you have some pretty strong competing interests there. And then at times people will bring President Trump and the White House into this conversation as well, while the president calls it the Green New Scam. Yet you find on the White House website, it does talk about technology like carbon capture. So I don't know where it's all going to shake out.
It's fun to be on the sidelines of this one, too, because the popcorn sales are through the roof. Yeah. We're all very curious to see. Yeah. And we're all dabbling our toes in it a little bit.
Yeah.
None of us are experts. Have you tried Perplexity yet? Perplexity. That one is catching some attention, and I'm starting to dabble with that one a bit. So I think, I'm an optimist. I attended the Kavanaugh lecture series at the Maine Library last week, and that guy was definitely not afraid of AI at all. PhD and this and that and the other, really, really brilliant man. And he said that the future is incredibly bright if we understand that these are tools that we can use to advance. So I'm taking that optimistic view.
That's what Elon Musk says. So we'll see.
I like Elon for the most part.
Yeah.
Until he takes over the world. But
right. May need to get with him on some of his life choices.
That's true.
But hey, but for the grace of God, there go I.
Amen.
And several $1 billion or $1 trillion. You can do things when you have that kind of money.
No doubt.
All right, have a good Monday, everyone.
You've been listening to Talkback. The opinions expressed were those of the hosts and callers, and not necessarily those of Cenlaw Broadcasting.
AM 970, FM 104.9, KSYL, and KRRV 100.3, HD3, Alexandria.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by JTV.com.
I'm Deborah Rodriguez. This is day 3 of the war with Iran, and U.S. officials say the goal is clear. Correspondent Vicki Barker begins our coverage. Not regime change, not building democracy in Iran. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth says the ongoing airstrikes that took out Iran's leadership meant to send one message.
If you kill Americans, if you threaten Americans anywhere on earth, we will hunt you down without apology and without hesitation, and we will kill you.
4 Americans dead in 3 days of airstrikes, more than 500 Iranians, including reportedly the Ayatollah Khamenei's wife. Pete Hegseth says he is not ruling out U.S. troops on the ground in Iran. The war has spread to other parts of the Middle East. Kuwait shot down 3 American fighter jets as Iranian aircraft, ballistic missiles, and drones were attacking. Correspondent Charlie D'Agata reports from Tel Aviv.
The aircraft were mistakenly hit by Kuwaiti air defenses. All 6 aircrew ejected safely, according to a statement from U.S. Central Command.
Israel and Lebanon are trading missile strikes for the first time in a year. President Trump says he expects the war to last 4 to 5 weeks. Iran's strategy, CBS News contributor General H.R. McMaster.
What they'll do is continue to attack U.S. bases. They're attacking civilian targets in Israel and 6 other countries in the region. You'll see them try to shut down shipping. I think you're going to see them try to activate terrorist cells internationally.
U.S. crude oil has jumped more than 7% this morning over fears the war will disrupt deliveries. The BBC's Nick Marsh.
We're only in the very, very early stages of this conflict. Supply overall is okay. The problems start mounting up when you're days, weeks, I don't know, maybe even months into a conflict. When that happens, then that's a prolonged spike, and that's when you start getting the knock-on effects on the price of energy, on the price of pretty much everything.
Most air traffic in the Middle East has slowed to a halt, stranding passengers in hub cities like Dubai, Qatar, and Etihad flights among those suspended. The FBI investigating the motive behind a deadly shooting at a bar in Austin, Texas, as possible terrorism. KHOU TV's Orko Manna.
According to the Associated Press, a law enforcement official says the suspect was wearing a sweatshirt that said "Property of Allah" and a shirt with the Iranian flag. And sources tell CBS News the Quran was found in the gunman's vehicle.
2 people were killed, 14 injured. Suspects, police shot to death. The Dow's down more than 300 points. This is CBS News.
Looking for spring jewelry looks? Find them at Jewelry Television. New customers get $20 off purchases of $99 or more at JTV.com.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-507-9701. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-507-9701. That's 800-507-9701. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Louisiana Radio Network, I'm Sean Burns. A House committee begins holding hearings today on Governor Landry's spending plan for the next fiscal year. The Office of Juvenile Justice is seeking a $28 million increase as Louisiana's justice system is incarcerating more young offenders. $15 million would be used to open a new youth prison in Vernon Parish. And Appropriations Chair Jack McFarland says they also want to increase staff salaries.
It takes a special individual to be a guard and work in that environment. And those aren't jobs that a lot of people are lining up for. So we have to compensate those individuals and make it competitive.
The Louisiana Association of Business and Industry says the state's making great strides toward economic competitiveness. President and CEO Will Green says Louisiana now ranks 24th in the country in both job creation and wage growth, and says our state has made significant improvements in the classroom.
We've gone from the 40s down to the 30s in our education ranking. More kids are graduating, more kids are reading, and more kids are understanding math at an early age.
LRN.
Hello, I'm Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser, inviting you to help keep Louisiana beautiful. Love to Boot Week, Louisiana's largest cleanup effort, is back April 18th to the 26th. This year, for America's 250th birthday, we're challenging volunteers to pick up 250 pieces of litter in their community. We've made real progress, but there's more work to do. Get a group together and register. For more information, visit lovetheboot.org.
Good morning. Some clouds to start us out this morning. That'll give way to sunny skies later in the day. Afternoon highs near 81 degrees. Winds out of the south-southeast at about 5 to 10 miles an hour. We'll see some fog overnight tonight. Otherwise, a few clouds here and there. 57, the overnight low. Our Tuesday, once that fog burns off, partly to mostly cloudy skies. High temps topping out at 82. From the Cenla Broadcasting Weather Center, I'm Dave Gratian. I'm on Griffon on Talk Radio KSYL 970 AM, 104.9 FM.
Hi, hello. Welcome to the Moon Griffon Show. Great to have you with us as we rock and roll on another beautiful Monday, best day of the work week, as you know. 844-766-6607, Matthew James Tax Pro Hotline. We'll get to hoping to have a couple national guests. Israel and the United States really took it to Iran, which is, people understand more about Iran, most probably evil society on earth. And it's what they won't do to destroy people. And so anyway, matter of fact, Iranians all over the world are celebrating what took place. But what happens back at home, how many illegals, Iranians that came through that want to do harm to the United States of America and that Joe Biden and the Democrats watch? That's the question with a lot of people. So anyway, we got that and a lot more as the program unfolds. Don't go nowhere. Election stuff, all that, as the program unfolds. But before we do all that, Laura Venable joins us. Miss Venable, how you doing?
Good morning, Moon. Doing great. Lots going on this Monday morning. How are you?
Yeah, I tell you, you never know what's coming up until you get up in the morning, and it's just it seems to be all kind of stuff. But anyway, Citizens Against against lawsuit abuse. There's a recent study, again, frivolous lawsuits killing Louisiana's economy. Talk a little bit about it, because you've been talking about this for a long, long time, as I was about to cry and frowning when I saw John Carmouche moving up on the LSU board. It just frustrates me to know. That's like the poster boy for anti-Louisiana, anti-business, but they keep putting him in these high positions. But anyway, you got the stats and the study now to prove what you've been saying for a while.